This is Sydney.
And this is Chloe.
And this
is Green Room,
where a bunch of pastors' kids get to talk about what church is like and our experiences.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Green Room with Sydney, my sister,
Hey-o.
and me, Chloe. We have another really exceptional guest today that I'm really excited to dive into, Mr. Josh Thompson. Why don't you say hello to the people?
Hello, people. Hello, girls. Really honored to be with y'all today and be a part of this. I've really loved what you guys have gotten into over the past couple of months and the way that you represent yourselves and the way that you speak the truth. And
Thank you.
I'm proud of you girls, like in a serious way. I really am. So I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. I've known Josh since I was like 11 or something, back in the days when I did middle school youth for not that long. But Josh was the only leader I ever encountered that I actually liked.
Hello.
Because you were like a normal, relatable, funny, not mean person.
Those are all goals of mine.
And good qualities in a youth leader.
That's funny.
So why don't you share with us a little bit of your background?
Sure.
Kind of where you came from and how you ended up in Kansas City.
Yeah, I was a part of a family that tracked with Mike Bickle and his ministry, IHOP, well before its inception. I grew up in beautiful West Virginia, and we
West Virginia.
Mountain Mama. I could sing the whole song right now. Don't tempt me because whatever. And but yeah, I was a part of the Vineyard growing up. My stepfather was one of the pastors, and then became the pastor. We went to Vineyard conferences. Between Vineyard and the Morningstar ministry in Fort Mill, South Carolina, and then once IHOP kind of started getting on the scene, we went out to the History Makers Conference in 1998. And I was just pumped to see Delirious. That's all I really cared about. Yeah, but I mean, very charismatic Vineyard. But, I was 13 years old in 1998, and we came to do the History Makers and see Delirious, but also a guy that used to be here named Seth Parks preached a message about tithing your teen years. I was about to turn 13. I was like, let's go. Like I'm gonna tithe these bad boys. Let's do this. And
Make it rain.
So I really didn't do a great job of it. I wanted to, and then I decided, hey, I'm not gonna go to college. I'm gonna go to ministry school. I'm going to go to Morningstar, North Carolina, where I became the most charismatic. I mean, anything they were feeding, I was eating. Bob Jones was farting around in Fort Mill, and I was trying to smell those farts. I don't know. I mean, like anything that he was doing, I was a part of. Rick Joyner. And, there's a part of me that really just sincerely wanted to love the Lord.
Right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be where I thought Jesus was. I wanted to be around people that were trying to do that.
Yeah.
I felt alive in the inside around people that wanted to worship, that wanted to pray, that were trying to pray for people to get healed and saved and stuff like that. And I was like, man, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And it was, I did a year of schooling there and a year of internship, and every funky, crazy, charismatic, patchouli oil wearing, guy that was dancing barefoot with toenails as long as whatever, and like every weird thing that you've heard about Morningstar, like it's all like way true. And thankfully, I let my hair grow, but not my fingernails. Thank God.
I respect that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was a short-lived season.
Short-lived season.
But yeah, then Mike
Bring it
came
back.
out. Oh, nah. It looks so stupid.
It's not for everyone.
No, it's not. But so I had obviously known about Mike's ministry for a long time, since I was a kid. Like, there was never a point in my life that I was really ever introduced to the teachings of either Mike Bickle, Bob Jones, Paul Cain, Rick Joyner. They were always like, we had the tape sets. We had once the tapes kind of gave way to CDs, we had CDs, and that was just on in the house. That was on in the car. And so Mike came to do a conference with Rick because they're good old boys, good old buds.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where like everything changed for me as far as like prayer, because I was helping to lead some prayer meetings there, but it was just me and some people around a table and a Jason Upton CD going.
Well, that's cool.
And my roommate at the time was a guy named William Matthews, who
Whoa, what?
yeah, he was my roommate at Morningstar.
No way.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
Sorry, that just like clicked in my brain.
yeah,
Aw.
so the IHOP people were at
Yeah.
Morningstar at that point, and so Rick, invited Mike and all that stuff. So my friend Katie Reed, who was Katie Bennett at the time, was the first person I ever heard lead the harp and bowl style of worship, and I was like, oh my God, they're singing the Bible and they're singing prayers at the same time. Oh God, this is awesome. You know,
Right.
like, I mean, it was insane. Like the whole room was like singing prayers and singing Bible verses, and I recognized a couple of them. I was like, I know that verse. This is awesome.
So cool.
And so I was like, this is amazing. And then somebody gave me a copy of your all's dad's CD,
Yes.
Apostolic Prayers.
Apostolic
The
prayer.
And-
bald head one, the creepy shot.
I have no idea because they burned me a copy of
Oh,
it.
let's go. Okay, that's fair.
So major
Black market.
apologies.
Black market prayer.
Yeah. So yeah, black market prayer. Maybe I was in the underground at that point, but anyway, I was at that point that I realized I should go get involved at IHOP.
Yeah.
And it sounds so ridiculous now to think about it this way, but at the time I was thinking like, I was like John the Baptist disciple, like moving to the next thing, like going to be with where Jesus was.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Bob Jones would talk about IHOP even in those days, like there's going to be a house of prayer and all the same stuff that we've heard recordings of him saying.
Yeah.
Like he was saying that
Wow.
there. And, that's why they were so excited to have the IHOP people there on
it.
site.
Yeah.
Because they were, the prayer and then the prophetic and all that stuff going on the same property. And I also, Bob Jones told me to my face that I would live to see the end of the world, which put a lot of pressure on me because
Yeah, yeah.
the only thing I'd never known about the end times was like the Left Behind books. So
Right.
I went
Like,
I was like, oh crap. So I went and read the whole book of Revelation, and that was not a good move. I mean,
Yeah, that probably didn't help.
Like, wait, what?
no, that didn't alleviate any of my fears whatsoever. But I figured, God, out in Kansas City, they're studying the end times. Because Mike's whole purpose of that conference was to talk about, radical love for Jesus and the end times, and a church that would be sustained by radical love to partner with Jesus to bring forth the end times.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I can get on board
And
with
it's
that.
such inspiring, flowery language.
Oh, it's so inspiring. It hits you right in the feels.
Yeah.
We'll talk about those feels a little bit later on. But I moved out here, and I was nervous that I wouldn't get accepted into FSM, which is ridiculous because they would have accepted a paper bag that flew by.
yeah.
I mean,
Right.
but that's what I moved out here, and then I got involved with the youth.
That's cool.
And I was a youth pastor here for a long time.
And what year did you...
So I moved here in 2006.
So was FSM still in the trailers?
No, FSM was in the
FCF.
the FCF building,
Right,
the
okay,
church
yeah.
building, Forerunner church building, the entire time I was there. So I didn't
Okay.
have one class in the IHOPU building, and I didn't have one class that was under the banner of IHOPU. It was FSM, FMA the whole time I was there,
Cool.
and graduated in 2010. I was a part of the Awakening.
I was about to say the year.
Yeah, the year. And what's crazy is I had a lot of great experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a part of me that looks back on those times, and I'm just really thankful to Jesus because I was just some freaking dude that was trying my best.
Right.
And he met me over and over because I asked him to.
Yeah.
And I really sincerely wanted to touch God in whatever way he was willing to make contact with some guy. And I don't know. There's a lot of bad. There's a lot of bad, a lot of pressure and manipulation. And misuse of the prophetic, and we'll talk about all that stuff too. But a lot of good.
Yeah.
And a lot of prayers. Just some 21-year-old, 22-year-old me just sitting in the prayer room crying, saying, I want to love you the way that some of these people are claiming that they do, feeling like a failure.
Yeah.
Right.
And then sometimes feeling like it's real, sometimes feeling like, God, I'm really just not doing well.
Yeah.
But sometimes feeling like, man, like I could really do this.
Yeah.
And, was prayer leading in the prayer room, and there was these amazing worship leaders, and there was so much talent, and the music was great, and people were singing and people were crying, and I was one of them. And it's like, man, if this is what Christianity is, then like I could really do this. I could really keep doing this.
Yeah.
And for all these years, it's waned up and down, but that's why I feel like a lot of people stayed. And within the charismatic church, my observation, having been a part of IHOP, Morningstar, we went up to Toronto for the Toronto blessing. We were down in Brownsville and Pensacola, and
We
went on tour. I mean, anything that was happening in the vineyard adjacent world, we were there. I mean, we were packing up our we had a Dodge Intrepid, and we got that baby on the road.
Heck yeah, let's go.
And what I'm realizing, I think, about myself and about many is we long for these deep emotional experiences because we're lacking real deep emotion in our lives. And when you connect with an emotional experience and you put like a spiritual kind of lens on it, and you see and you relate to God through the emotion that you're lacking in your life, it's like, I want this all the time.
Yeah.
And there's a real part of our heart that was made to encounter the Lord in that way and to have an emotional experience, but it's meant to be more than an experience.
Right.
And so people like my family would pack up and go to all these conferences, and there's people, whenever somebody is coming to town, this worship leader is going to be at this church, we're going. This guy's going to be at this church speaking, we're going. If there's going to be a conference, we're planning our calendar by the conference schedule of the churches that we kind of, track with.
Yeah.
And what Mike figured out, and I have no problem saying that I think that he was lying from the get-go about all kinds of everything. And who knows at what level he was ever sincere, who knows. But if you're going to, be a pedophile, then you got something going on somewhere else. But what IHOP was for me, and I think for a lot of people, is the conference comes to me. I get to move a place where the conference is going to be where I'm at.
Yep.
I get to be in an environment with this amazingly talented worship. Anytime I want, I can go in there. I can go to weekend services. IHOP, for the longest time, we had Friday night service, Saturday night service, and Sunday morning. So it was like a conference every weekend, let alone actual conferences, bringing in people, and the One Thing Conference and the Israel Mandate and all these conferences that people really prioritized on their calendar. And people like me would move here, and you could get, a touch of this emotional high experience at all times. But what it became was, because anytime someone's addicted to something, we start out small and you need more, and nothing ever like actually satisfies. And now I'm not saying that Jesus is like,
no, it's the adrenaline.
Yeah, it's the adrenaline
all
of it.
those
But
things,
once it becomes normal, once it becomes like
okay.
a normal part of your life.
Yeah, totally.
You meet people that would travel every year for a week to come sit in the prayer room, and that's like the highlight of their year.
Yeah.
And you know what? Those people really meant it.
Yeah,
100%.
And their entire experience of IHOP was coming to the prayer room for a few hours a day for a week, going to the weekend services, seeing their kids get hopefully encountered by the Lord in a powerful way at a teen camp or a children's camp, and go home and try to like love the Lord the best they could. But for those of us that came here, lived here, was part of our normal life, the high emotional experience of like the newness of it, when it wears down, it's like, okay, all I'm left with is this pressure to keep the fire burning.
Yes.
This pressure to keep living the forerunner lifestyle. And oh God, we're having trouble paying our bills.
Yeah.
But this life of having little and not, like it's almost celebrated. Like, hey, you're giving up a lot for the Lord. Like you've sold things, you've given so much, and
Poverty really was celebrated.
it really was celebrated.
Godliness. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I'm not the Dalai Lama out here. Like I got
totally.
kids.
Right. Like, hello. Yeah.
That's really well said.
It's weird that like poverty became almost idolatry.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, what a backwards.
Right. Like, oh, you got a new car. You must have rich parents. Why aren't they giving more to the prayer movement instead of you?
Yeah.
Yes.
What the heck?
What the heck?
So weird.
No, it's terrible.
So twisted.
So you came in 2006, and at what point did you kind of get involved in the youth world?
My second semester of my first year.
Okay, so pretty
quick. Yeah.
Right
Because I helped do some youth stuff during my internship at Morningstar, and I love youth ministry. In a lot of ways, I was built for it. You know, I mean,
totally.
Oh, you 100%.
it kind of, my personality fit it. I liked being around teenagers. I liked playing sports with them and having fun and laughing. And I really loved the Lord, and I wanted them to touch something in God's heart. And I mean, not to qualify myself or disqualify myself, but I really liked being a youth pastor. I loved it.
I mean, you were totally made
100%.
for it.
And you killed it.
Well, thanks.
I get
Hey,
that, like,
we still love Jesus, and you are our youth pastor. So
Absolutely.
winning.
What's up?
Yep. So what are kind of your main memories from your time kind of volunteering and then leading in student ministries?
And in some ways, student ministries was kind of like its own world within IHOP.
Yeah.
I mean, especially once we started getting the worship and prayer going with the teenagers leading worship and doing the prayer sets and stuff. I mean, half my prayer room hours were teen sets, and the other half were ones I prayer led with, Corey or whoever else.
Yeah.
And I mean, we had a group of a lot of dudes. At first, I got my friend Michael Stevens led. It was called the Forerunner Youth Intensive, FYI. And I mean, all these acronyms. The acronym it's a wild time.
Did someone count and there was like 175?
I mean, that's
Like in
that's probably conservative.
Yeah, probably actually.
But
Everything was an acronym.
yeah, and then someone else took over, and I kind of stayed, and then I was basically leading junior high my last 2 years of IHOP U FSM then, and then in 2010 I graduated and they offered me the full-time junior high job, and I was like super pumped on it. They were like, we can give you $500 a month. I was like, let's go.
Rolling.
That's a life-changing amount of money.
Well, my rent was $300 a month.
So there you go.
And so
$200.
I only had to work like 10 hours a week at Sam's Club, and I was like, we can do this. We can do this. So yeah, I did that, and my memories of student ministries for the most part were sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved being a part of a church service geared towards teenagers, where teenagers were leading worship, and the people that I knew, I believe with all my heart, genuinely did love Jesus, genuinely did love the teens, and wanted to do what was right by them and by the Lord. And, certain volunteers came through that had other agendas.
Like
one of
Larry,
them,
not so lucky.
yeah. Not a lucky situation there at all. And I mean, I said all I said in the article. But for the most part, I mean, people, they showed up early, they stayed late, they prayed, we cried together, we prayed for those kids when they weren't, y'all weren't there, we were there.
Yeah.
We were praying, we were crying, we were trying to figure out how to make things fun and figure out how to make things cool so that maybe we could set up an opportunity that maybe the Lord might come and do something in ministry time. And I mean, we really cared. Yeah. And I look back and I don't have any regrets on that.
Totally.
And then, you know, once you're in actual leadership and you start having to navigate some of the politics of things and budgets and ideas and what this guy wants to happen this way, and, you know, started having disagreements with leaders. I got one of the leaders that in particular there was a major disagreement with was, you know, this guy was involved in leading the youth, and he came out and said in a meeting one day, I'm going to preach a message that's so intense, so fiery, that I'm going to preach some of our kids out of the seats if they're not going to get on board. And I was like, time out. How about no? Yeah. And so I was like, hey, you can have all of them. Have all the fiery ones. Give me the ones that want to leave. Put me in a seminar room or something. Yeah. I'll be their youth pastor. We'll have 2 separate youth groups. And that was just not well received. And I felt like in a lot of ways, everything changed, even though I didn't necessarily pick up on it in the moment. Like the favor or whatever was
gone.
Was gone. Like the invitations to, oh, you can come travel with me, like that never ended up happening. It never ended up happening. Yeah. And then near the end of my first stint at IHOP, which Megan and I left in 2016 for a couple of years to go to Portland, Oregon. That's a whole nother deal. But I was very strongly propagating that every teenager, once you're graduating, should get with your parents, plan your future, do whatever you want. Yeah. If you want to go to college, awesome. Well, you want to go do YWAM, amazing. Yeah. You want to do IHOPU, great. You want to be go to OTI or whatever, then that's totally cool. Yeah. But
that would not have been well received.
It was not well received at all. I was rebuked publicly for it, and I didn't back down, and that definitely cost me. And so, you know, when we were deciding whether we wanted to stay or leave or whatever, I talked to the leader that was over student ministries at that time, because I had been there forever. I mean,
right.
And I was like, hey, I feel like you're going to be leaving to do other things. I might want to know if you would recommend me to take over student ministries. And he was like, no.
What?
And I think a lot of that had to do with, like, I wasn't teaching the forerunner message that much. I was just
sharing the
give
gospel.
Me the basics of Christianity.
Yeah.
We're going to do foundational stuff. Then you can go up to senior high and get your John the Baptist stuff. And but I mean, to be honest, even though I believed all that
really quickly, like, that's bonkers to me, because you were an exceptional youth leader. And you actually cared about the kids sitting in front of you. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't about getting them into IHOPU. It wasn't about indoctrinating them into X, Y, and Z. So the fact that someone actually said that to you was, like, mind-boggling to me.
Well, and you were actually pastoral.
Yeah.
I try to be.
Yeah, I mean, hey, take a compliment. But 100%. Like, I remember... Like, I know I was one of the fiery kids, like how I was treated. Now I can see it looking back. I didn't really know what I felt then, but I remember actually feeling seen as a human being from you, and loved and celebrated for who I was, and not my spiritual accomplishments or my badges like you would get on a Starbucks app. Like I was recognized as a soul, as a human being that was just trying to love God. And I loved that you weren't cliquey with the other leaders. You you don't have this entitled like snobbiness of I know everything and you should bow to me. And that always stuck out to me. So like even, I mean, fast forward, like when you ended up going to Portland and I clued in that I was like stepping in your role. Thank you. I was like, oh crap, I'm filling Josh Thompson's shoes. Like I was like, wow, these are really big shoes to fill for these teens. Like I felt honored, but also like the fear of the Lord of like, oh dang, I gotta, you know what I mean? In a good way, not, not making you God, but like,
oh yeah,
just even the fact of.
I was thrilled it was going to be you. I thought.
Thanks.
No, I mean,
appreciate that.
They asked for my input. I was like, oh yeah, Sid. I think maybe part of the reason that sometimes it feels like it's difficult for me to take any compliment from those days is because I have talked to some teens that didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
And
That's fair.
even for me.
Yeah.
And I put out a video on Facebook a couple of months ago when all the stuff with Justin came out and the article in the KC Star, and that was a really emotional for me. And I did talk to some teens, that were in our youth at that time, and some of the feedback that was negative was that I was one of the ones that tended to gravitate towards the sports playing, musician, funny, and that I did let some of these kids like slip through the cracks. And God, that's like tough to hear.
Yeah.
And couple that with having this thing put on me as a leader where it's expected that I kind of propagate the IHOP message. And I really did believe it,
Right.
like hook, line, and sinker.
Totally. You wouldn't be there if you didn't.
And, my definition of what holiness would look like, or my definition of what a life well lived would look like, did include long hours of prayer and a sacrificial lifestyle. And though it was my intention to say, yeah, you can go do that after you go to college, or you can go, playing with your parents or whatever. If someone would have asked me, and many did, I would have said, yeah, you for sure should consider doing IHOP or doing an internship. And if you have time in your week, you should go to the prayer room and let's delete all the secular music off your iPod. And really what radical love looks like is spending time in that prayer room. Because I found great worth being a part of something that I felt was bigger than myself.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, the vision, good God, the vision of
Right.
we are a people that is partnered with God to accomplish his end time purposes on the earth.
Oh, totally.
And everybody's freaking end time crazy the past 30 years.
Yeah.
And, I get to be a part of what God's doing on the earth. Kansas City.
Yeah.
Kansas City. Kansas City.
That's some heavy Kool-Aid.
It's thick.
Yeah.
I mean, you could barely even drink it, but baby, we tried. We spoon fed ourselves. And what started out, going back to this, is starting out as this, I get to have these deep emotional experiences with God all the time. And I want, God, but Lord, let the teenagers feel what I felt in the prayer room last night. Yeah. Let the teenagers experience what you did with me last week or whatever. And when I began to feel like the normal part of it, the mundane that everybody would say, I was still thinking, well, God, the problem is with me. The Lord can still do it for them.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And if I can get them, then the Lord will do it for them. And even if he's not doing it for me. Mm-hmm. But then, the prayer room becomes this, and it became this more and more as time went on. You're sitting there alone in a group of people you're spending time with God alone with someone 2 feet from you, and you don't talk to them. And if you do, then it's frowned upon. You go into a side room, people are like, you know what I mean? And it just becomes this isolated, solitary expression of monastic Christianity covered over by a whitewash of electric guitars and bright lights and a beautiful looking appearance.
Yeah.
And God, I was so depressed.
Yeah.
And then, you have these prophetic promises over the ministry, and these prophetic people come through, and Mike teaching the prophetic history, and he would always say, well, no, these aren't just my experiences.
Right.
These are our stories. These are our stories. And Bob Jones and Paul Cain and those guys were looked like as heroes, and Mike was like this larger than life apostle living in our midst. And it's like I get to sit in a room 10 feet from like an apostle. Like maybe he's not like the Apostle Paul, but surely he's like
super close
somewhere. Like maybe he's like Timothy level or something, like, and feeling like, and being fed this constant deluge of your prayers are affecting eternity. Your prayers are affecting the city. Your prayers are affecting the nation and your lost friends and family. You being in this room is actually affecting their hearts, and you don't know when it's going to happen. And there's always like the next big thing, and the end times are going to come, but so is like the healing procession from Blue Ridge to the stadiums, and the stadiums are going to be filled. And every year on the anniversary, they bring you back to sign up again, and you sign up twice a year. And there's just all this pressure, and people were just crushed underneath the pressure of maintaining a 24/7 sanctuary. But the pressure looks like it should be voluntary. I should be signing up for this. Why the heck would I not sign up for this? Even though it's destroying me.
Totally.
I'm missing my kids growing up because there's always another meeting to be at. There's always another prayer meeting to come to. Come to the prayer meeting on Saturday mornings. Bring your kids. My kids don't want to come to the freaking prayer room.
They want to watch Bluey.
They want to watch Bluey. They want to watch freaking Little Einsteins.
Heck yeah, man.
I mean, it's tough to feel like you're in this constant like whirlwind of pressure where I'm a failure. God loves me, but I'm dark yet lovely.
Right.
But the darkness is mostly me, and it's my fault that I'm still dark. And I could be doing more, but I don't want to. I love my kids, and I know that I should love my kids, but I'm loving them wrong because they're not in the prayer room. And I am giving my entire freaking life for this, but should I feel bad that I have a nice house? Should I feel bad that I made a wise financial decision to buy a cheap house and fix it up and sell it and buy a nicer house because I wanted to have a nicer house for my kids to grow up in? I mean, part of me is like, God, I want to give my kids a good life. I want to give my kids a good future. I want them to have something like enjoyable. I want them to have a nice backyard. Freaking trampoline.
Let's go.
Give them a trampoline. Should I feel bad about that? There's like this, I'm not living the fasted lifestyle enough. And it's, eventually it's just like, God, am I even going to make it? So the last we moved to Portland after finding out that pretty much I was not going to be in the running for student ministries. There wasn't anything else I really wanted to do at IHOP. We farmed industrial hemp for 3 years, which was a nightmare. I mean, but I learned how to drive a tractor.
There you go.
Got really good at a forklift. And we came back here mostly in my mind because this is where my friends are. Megan is a really talented singer, and everyone wanted her to come back and sing. And I was like, God, I'll just do everything I can just to have my kids in a spiritually vibrant community. The vibrancy. And I never felt like I really truly belonged. It was mostly like, I'm here for Meg. I'm here for the kids. I love people. So if you can just put me in a position where I can like love people and try to be a good influence on their life in some ways, then like I'm down for that.
And that's, you kind of ended up jumping into Collective, the young adult ministry, a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of Collective were former student ministries people.
Yeah.
So I already had a strong connection with some of these people, loved them, wanted to be involved. And
Were you on like staff or just like
yeah,
volunteer?
Dane Mallory was the leader of it. And when I first came back, he was like, dude, I would love for you to, because Dane and I are still buds.
Yeah.
Like we're close friends.
I love Dane.
And we left IHOP at the same time. And
Yeah.
we were a part of the same conversation, finding out about Mike. And he's on the same page as everybody. And
Yeah.
And I really respect the heck out of him and love him.
I know. I was like, I was nervous because I didn't know where everyone was landing because I wasn't in town at the time. And so I like was kind of like taking inventory of my mind, like I really hope these people like acknowledge or know, like just believe the truth. And you and Dane, I was like, God, please. I was like, I hope they like believe it. I hope. So
yeah.
It was us and another person in a group chat. And somehow we were like, hey, we all love each other. And I was like, oh, praise God. I was like, oh, thank you. I was like, they're saved. Okay.
Well, and we can talk all about that too. But just finishing up this thought about the prophetic and everything. I genuinely love the prophetic and what I think it should be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Words of encouragement, feeling the Lord's heart for someone, giving them a Bible verse and praying for them.
Yes.
And I've been very much blessed by that.
Yeah.
And especially if it's like Bible centered.
Yes.
Bible,
yes.
basically everything, the Bible, and maybe like a couple thoughts.
Yeah.
But the brand of Christianity that we've kind of subscribed to has been like, well, here's this dude. He's going to say whatever the heck he wants, and you should believe it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah.
And who knows if he got information from Facebook? Who knows if he made the entire thing up? But there was
he was on psychedelics.
Yeah. Who knows if he's just taking mushrooms and he thinks he's riding a unicorn? But so, I mean, anybody prophetic that came through, anybody that had a prophetic gift was kind of like exalted.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's like,
Big time.
we got a prophet in the house.
Yeah.
He's gonna say some stuff.
Yep.
It's gonna be freaking sick. And so there was a guy that he's now dead, which is crazy. But he was leading these healing meetings, and he was like a prophetic guy, and he was healing and doing prophetic healing meetings at IHOP like every week for a while. And you guys know, like my youngest daughter has congenital heart disease. Yeah. She's 3 open heart surgeries deep in her medical journey, and there's no end in sight. So part of the reason that I prioritize being here is if the healings are going to start somewhere, they're probably going to start in Kansas City.
Yeah.
We bought a house like stone's throw from the Truman property. So, I mean, it's the most outrageously difficult thing to see your kid walk through this stuff.
Oh, I can't imagine.
And so we're going to these meetings, prayer, nothing's happening. And so this guy calls us up on stage because he said, there's somebody in the room or somebody in the building that it's a baby with a heart condition. And everyone's like, oh my God, the Thompsons. Because I mean, everybody knows. I mean, if you've been here a long time and your kid's got stuff going on, everybody knows about it.
Yeah.
So, we go get Charlotte from the kids, her little kids class, bring her up on stage. We're walking up the aisle with her, and we're seeing them. They're already bawling as we're walking by them. We go up on stage. It seems like everybody we know has tears in their eyes. People gather around us and pray. And this dude's like, I felt it. God just healed her. And that was like, in that moment, that was like the greatest moment of my life.
Yeah.
And when you're carrying that weight, to have it feel in the moment that it's been lifted is like the greatest relief. Yeah. And Megan and I are just like collapsed, bawling. People are around us. Everyone's crying. Yeah. And we're like, Lord, you finally did it. It's the week before Easter. We have her doctor's appointment on Good Friday. And we're just like riding high up to Children's Mercy. We're going to get confirmation on Good Friday. The poetry of God is in full effect. What if this starts revival?
Yeah.
What if this? Because people have prophesied she's going to be the first one healed in the revival. And we are just like walking on cloud 9.
Yeah.
And we'll go into the appointment and they have to hook her up to all this crap and all these, sensors and stuff. And the doctor is like, yeah, so we're looking at probably an open heart surgery for her, probably this summer. And I was just like,
wait, what?
What? Yeah. Like, it hasn't been like quite the progress that we want. And like every bit of like the joy and elation that I felt in receiving the prophetic word that she had been healed, it was like a weight that was so crushing that I like couldn't talk, couldn't breathe, couldn't swallow. The doctor left the room and I looked at Megan and I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, she's not healed. And that, for many people, is their experience in the prophetic.
Yeah.
Some guy gets up there and says, you ma'am, you're old. I'll bet you have a grandson or a granddaughter that's not walking with the Lord. Hey, is your grandchild not walking with the Lord? Yes, because statistically, but people that flock to these prophetic messengers are desperate for something in God, and they just spoon feed it. And the Lord showed me that your grandson's going to get saved, and their blubbering mess of tears and joyfulness and thankfulness. And no one checks in with them. You don't know if they're
that person nothing to say that.
And it costs them nothing.
And it costs them so much.
You're going to come in and get put up in a nice hotel and
look like a hero. And people are going to congratulate you,
and you're a freaking fraud, bro. And like, if this podcast makes it to anybody's eyes that does that stuff, and you don't check in with these people and you go to these towns and you prophesy this shit, like, stop. Good God, stop. Give them the word. Talk about Jesus. Talk about the Bible.
Yeah.
Don't prophesy stuff that you don't know about. Because it destroys people. It destroys people.
Yeah.
And I like, if the Lord hadn't been as kind as he is to walk me through that, I don't know what I'd do.
Yeah.
Because that summer, you're looking at this little girl having her heart ripped open for the third time and her chest open up, and you walk in the room and you see those tubes, and you see for the third time. And it's easy to say, where were you, God?
Yeah.
Why did you let him tell me that? Why did you let us believe that? Why did you let us feel that relief only to have this happen again?
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, like, I understand why they're leaving the church, because if that's your experience with Christianity,
Totally.
some dudes rolling through town saying whatever they want and it not mattering to them.
Yeah.
Hey, go enjoy Hawaii for the 5th time this year, bud.
Yeah.
Go enjoy. You had some nice honorariums this year. Way to go.
Yeah.
But we're picking up the pieces. And that lady's picking up the pieces. Her grandson's not saved. Her grandson's still doing drugs.
Yeah.
This guy's brother is still freaking on drugs. You said he wouldn't be, but
Right.
thanks. Thanks for playing, buddy.
Yeah. It's one thing to be one of the friends luring you down, like the not parable, it was a story where
Yeah.
your friends lower him from the ceiling to get to Jesus. It's another to say, oh yeah, it just happened for you. Like when with our second loss, I just told people, I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I don't have faith right now. I was like, I know God is a healer. I know that he has brought, babies back to life and all these things, but that's not where my heart is. But if you want to pray that way, you can. But I'm just letting you know where I am.
Yeah.
And someone in my small group was so beautiful. And she was like, I want to be your friend right now that helps you and lowers you before Jesus. But I'm going to still be there.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk. I'm still going to be here no matter what. And like, I have so many friends that are walking away from the Lord because
not that you're walking away from the Lord.
No,
I'm not.
not you. No, not you. But people we know walking away from the Lord because the prophetic stories like that, or the declarations, or whatever you want to call them, and it is the guy that just leaves and picks up and goes, instead of someone being like Jesus that lives out the gospel and the fullness of it, that in the midst of pain, like Jesus is there, and in the midst of pain, your pastor should also be there and helpful, and I can't, it makes me just want to say a bunch of 4-letter words. Like I just get angry because it's such an injustice.
It is. Yeah.
It's so wrong. And it for, again, to emphasize the people that are so desperate and rightly so, like you walking up with your child hoping, God, please let this be the moment. Like, what robbery. And it makes me angry because it's like, that's not God's heart.
Yeah.
But not everyone can see that when they're watching everything play out.
Yeah.
And it takes extreme maturity to be able to walk through it and actually still love Jesus at the end. And extreme maturity and diligence and honest conversations with God and other people around you.
I think that's the key. I mean, honest conversation with God.
Yeah.
Not feeling like you have to figure it out yourself. And one of the tough things about guest prophetic people coming to town and giving these things is it kind of gives everyone else a license to also say whatever they want.
Yep.
And, I've been a part of that too. And I've repented to people that I can think of. But, my friend hurt his knee one time and I just felt this unction to say, hey, I think the Lord's going to heal your knee. And I think it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And it didn't happen. And I felt like, oh, this sucks. Like I should go repent to this guy. Mm-hmm. He's like, no, you meant it. It was sincere and stuff. And I was like, okay, but this is the culture that we have. Like no accountability, you know? So we've lost pregnancies too. And the last one that we lost, I was ready to pack the thing in. Yeah. We lost 2 already. And all these people came up to me in this short period of time saying, hey, you're gonna have your son. Yeah. Megan's gonna get pregnant. It's gonna be a son. You should do it. Like, get her pregnant.
Make it happen.
And I was just like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I can't do that. Mm-hmm. The pain of loss. I mean, it's just like unreal. So she gets pregnant. It's a boy. Mm-hmm. And then didn't work out. And then all those people that mean well and love the Lord, love people, but they just had this license to say whatever came to their mind in the moment. Yeah. It's like people just like can't look you in the eye anymore. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is that what we want for our churches?
Right.
Is that what we want for our congregations? Is that what we want for our families? Is that what we want for our freaking kids?
Totally. Well, because then it's also, then people associate that with God's character. Yeah. Oh, well, my prayer for my baby to live, or my grandma to get better, or my neighbor to find Jesus didn't happen. So I got to play sheepish. Yeah. God's not who he is, or it's, I'm in too much dark sin that God doesn't listen to me. You know what I mean? I'm like,
The problem is with
jacked
me.
up. Yeah.
Either God's a liar or I suck bad.
Yeah, totally. Oh, 100%. And then, I mean, that even challenges then the gospel of like, Jesus hung out with in the slums. Like, those were the people he's reaching, not the like perfect Barbies of the world that are like, everything's great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I mean, hey, they got their own brokenness and like,
Sure.
like God's there for everyone. But yeah. And I think that's one thing that I've had to wrestle through is like, I've lost respect for so many people in the church because it's one thing to like say all this on a microphone. And if you get it wrong and not say anything, I'm like, just own it. Like I've definitely like gone and be like, hey, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. And also too, it's confusing growing up as like a kid, like prophesying over people. And yeah. But
accountability doesn't sell books.
Yeah.
It doesn't get you.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't get you Delta medallion status.
Oh, I wish that would be nice. That'd be really nice. If Sermon on the Mount got you all the things. Eternity's gonna be great, y'all.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are going to be able to relate to what you've just shared.
Yeah.
So fast forward a little bit to kind of this last year.
Oh, Lord.
It's been a doozy.
It's been quite a doozy, yes.
Yes. How did you kind of find out about all this stuff?
Well, one day, Dane and I were actually talking in a side room.
Dun, dun,
Taboo.
dun, dun.
And we walked out into the parking lot, back behind the prayer room, and Brent Steno was there, who's my dog.
I love him.
And talking with another friend. And we walked up and he was talking to our guy, and they were like really like looking like really serious. And we're like, hey, what's going on? And Brent's like, there's going to be sexual allegations that come out against Mike. I was like, Bickle?
Tyson?
Mike Bickle was like, yeah. And I was like, no. no, thank you. Like, no, I don't. No,
No, don't need that.
And then he was like, they're going to come out and they're from a credible source. You know who it is. And I was like, what? And then he was like, he told me who it was. And I was like, no freaking way. And it just like, I felt like someone pulled a rug out from under me. And then Brent, he just goes, dude, I'm just kidding. It's not real. And I was like, oh, thank God.
Oh my God.
Oh, thank God. And he goes, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. It's all for real. And I was like, oh God.
Oh, that's mean.
No, it's mean. Oh, it's terrible.
That's mean.
So
I probably would have laughed and then cried and be like,
oh
ah.
no, I cried for sure.
Oh gosh.
And so we like went and found like an empty office because we all had TMKs and stuff. So we're just like, let's go find somewhere secret to meet.
Yeah.
And
The master key, by the way.
yeah, TMK, the master key. And we talked through it, and I was like, dude, like, who told you this? This is ridiculous. And he's like, you don't have to believe me. I'm not even telling you that you should believe that it's true or not, but I'm telling you it's going to happen. It's going to come out. These allegations are coming, and you just need to be ready. So I was like, okay, whatever. And so I went home, and I'm just like a shell of a person walking around, and Megan's like, what's going on? And I'm like, whatever. And then so like I kept it from her as long as I could, but I was out in the backyard talking on the phone, and she comes up and she's like, what is going on? And I was like,
Megan's not dumb.
no. I was like, I can't tell you. She was like, the hell you can't. And I was
I
like,
love her so much.
I was like, well, there's allegations out against Mike that he abused someone sexually, and this is who it's from. And she's like, what? And so we're just like, oh my God. So we like went through life, try to like, we had these conversations, me and Dane and some people just like, and we had collective the next night. We were going to watch The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which is a great movie. And, we're setting up this giant inflatable screen, and Dane and I are like, oh my God. Like we're having a movie night and our lives are about to collapse.
Worst thing ever.
And then, so we're just kind of trying to get through it. And then Friday comes and Mike posts on Instagram this insane Instagram. He's like, I had this experience. We're going to do something tonight we've never done before. We're going to engage God in ways we've never engaged before. We're going to actually engage the enemy in ways we've never engaged before. And I was like, the F?
Which is not a typical IHOP thing.
No.
That's actually something I've actually appreciated. It's like focus on the light, not the darkness.
Yeah, like we're gonna do what? Like I don't want any. I'm not gonna talk to the devil.
Yeah,
I don't need to.
I don't need to talk to no devil. You know what I mean? Like
I'm already talking to you.
I mean, if whatever.
Yeah.
So we went to EG. We went to the staff service on Friday nights. There's staff service, and then there was the Encounter God service. And Mike came out, and he was all like flustered and was telling people, you should stay for EGS tonight, or you should tune in. I haven't even told you yet, Stuart, but this happened, whatever. So we didn't stay for EGS because we have kids. We went home and like helped put them to bed or whatever. We settled in and watched online, and we're sitting there in our living room, TV, and Mike's just like talking. He just building himself up as this prophet, basically just laying out his greatest hits of prophetic experiences, the angelic encounters, and
greatest hits of
the greatest hits of the prophetic history. And then he's like talking about the black horse and accusations coming. And I looked at Megan and I was like, Mike Bickle is lying right now.
Yep.
That's a sentence I never would have thought I would ever say in my life.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, I feel like I'm having a out of body experience.
Yeah.
And I was like, if it's like the Twilight Zone.
Oh yeah.
Because knowing the accusations that he claims are coming or whatever, and then having knowledge that they were going to come, it feels like this is insane. And lots of other people that hadn't had that knowledge yet were saying like, Mike was weird tonight. This was a whole weird thing. Yeah. He went like 45 minutes over his time.
He never does.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
And so huge. I was just like, this is insane. And I knew like right then and there, I was like, this is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah.
And I asked the Lord to help me. And I'm not a big proponent of anymore of like asking for dreams, whatever, but I was like, Lord, please tell me if this is true or not. Mm. And I had a dream that I was in the prayer room and I walked up to Mike and I was like, and this is weird to say, it's like, I love you, Mike. Goodbye. And I was like, ugh. And then I asked the Lord, I was like, Lord, I want to hear this from Jane Doe, if this is real. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not going to call her. Like, hey, guess who? So I'm not gonna call them. But the next night I had a dream where I was in their living room and I just looked at her and I was like, I'm so sorry, but I have to ask, like, is this real? And in the dream she goes, it's 100% real. Wow. And I was just like, oh crap. And I woke up and I was like, that's all I need.
Yep. Like, I got it.
I mean, first of all, what I experienced on that Friday night, I knew in my spirit that it was real.
But it takes a second.
And it's so shocking.
It's so shocking.
It's sometimes I'm still like, how? What? Yeah. No.
Well, and there's times even now I'm still like trying to, like, I catch my brain like reasoning. Because your brain, it's a natural like response. It's like, okay, I need to find something that grounds me that's like truth. Yeah. And so, and for all of us, like, this was majority of our life. Like, you know what I mean? Or at least formative years. And so, 100%.
Hours and hours and hours and hours and belief and sacrifice. Yeah. For it to all come crashing down, and it's not an ideal situation.
Yeah, no.
At all.
So after you kind of were hit with the realization of that the allegations were true. Yeah. Like, how long did you guys stay on staff at IHOP? What was that process like?
Well, we found out on like October 18th, and Mike Bickle spoke his message on October 20th. So that's when I knew it was true. Mm-hmm. And then we were meeting together every day, me and Dane and Brent, and just talking about like what this means, everything. And then the next Friday, the allegations were like, there are allegations coming out against Mike, and
announcement number 3.
the announcement number yeah. And then that Tuesday, during the 4 p.m. I prayer led, the advocate group, who I respect,
formerly known as the complaint group.
The complaint group, always in my heart, because no, they came and confronted a little bit, or they came and presented to the ELT and all that stuff. And at that point, I had already known that Mike was a, not
Terrible human.
Terrible guy, kind of a sleazeball.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, F the world, I'm going to do whatever I want in this prayer set. So like Mike was sitting in his spot over there, and I was like, Lord, reveal all darkness, even in our midst. If there's any, like, and like,
I would have paid to see it.
I was like, I don't care.
So Mike was in the prayer room while that meeting was going on.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. That makes my head
So,
happy.
people thought like, oh, Josh, good prayer, brother. And I was like, yes.
Yeah, yes, it is. It is.
And
the
so
best
I
prayer.
started.
You watch and see.
I started posting some stuff on Facebook, like the prophetic history is garbage, and like we can't fight for it and stuff like that. And then the allegations, people were like, on that Friday, Dean stood up and called it righteous, well-intending bullshit, and applaud that big time for Dean. And we had people over our house, and the thing was, they were saying, like, we're not going to confirm that it's sexual or not. And I was like, well, I will.
Yeah.
So people came over and they asked me. I was like, well, they said they're victims, and it's not financial. So draw your own conclusions.
Right.
Like,
It's sexual.
It's sexual.
Yeah.
So I got rebuked for that.
Of course.
So we're having all these internal conversations at IHOP, at people's houses and stuff. And I'm like, guys, Mike's a liar. Like, we have to shut this thing down. We have to, like, repent of letting him speak that message. And, that was really where the dividing line was. The people that, and I wasn't the one saying it at all. I mean, Nathan and Rachel Steele were, in those meetings, and they were saying it, Dan and Allie. And I was like, this is garbage.
Yeah.
Like, we have to repent of even letting him get up there. And the sentiment seemed to be like, we don't know his heart. This isn't, like, for sure anything. And we had a meeting at someone's house, and
even though they knew for sure.
Yeah. And they were like, well, we talked to Mike and Diane the other day, and Mike didn't even know the allegations were that serious. And Diane's leaning over and saying, see, Mike, I told you that this was serious. And like, they're talking about Mike like he's freaking Joe Biden, like walking around, can't put a complete thought together. And I'm like,
this is a brilliant man.
Oh, yeah.
One of the most intelligent men that's ever been in my, my periphery, in my world. He's maybe a genius, psycho genius, but it's like, he knows exactly what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
And Stuart knew about the allegations.
I believe so, yes.
He 100% did, because he knew like a week before, because my dad and Jane Doe went to him, Jane Doe's husband. So Stuart let Mike preach that message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all those other people can say what they want.
And, there were some people, even at the time that we put our resignation on Facebook, after a while, we made lots of internal appeals and noise. I stood up in the middle of a meeting at IHOPU, and I was like, has Mike confessed to doing this stuff? And they were like, ugh. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. So we left right after Christmas of last year, right before Christmas. We did our collective Christmas party, and then we bounced. But I never went back to the prayer room. Megan never went back to sing. She never even stepped foot in the prayer room after October 18th.
Yeah.
And leaders that I was friends with, like, one guy in particular, he's like, I haven't even watched the entire October 20th message. I was like, bro.
Wow.
You can't make that a priority in your time.
Right.
Like, this is the most egregious message that's ever been spoken from the IHOPKC platform. And I'm begging you to repent of it. You're not even going to watch the thing?
Wow.
You're not even going to watch it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm leaving over this. Our friendship is ending over this.
Yeah.
You're not even going to watch it. And that, I mean,
Wow.
people tell you how they're going to treat you. People let you know how much they value you.
Yeah, they do.
And I, with all sincerity in my heart, have reached out to people, honored, loved, tried to be a good friend and everything. But I'm not going to stand on the BS.
No, yeah.
I mean, I hope that the people that decided to stay and that didn't want to talk to me and all those things, I hope that they find the healing that they're needing. The Lord's kind, He's faithful, and He's the one that's going to make things happen if they happen.
Yeah.
But I didn't back down at all. And if I have any regrets, it's that I probably should have gone harder. I mean, I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, when it's when it comes time to, there's people being molested and stuff. Like, no, I'm not about that. I'm not going to let that. I'm not going to let that slide at all.
We're not going to hide that.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, having experienced everything that you've experienced over the past year and years, even at IHOP, Vineyard, Morningstar, like, how has this scandal affected your faith and your walk with the Lord?
Oh my God. You know, in some ways, it's radically shaken like my expression of faith. But in other ways, if I was going to walk away from the Lord, it probably would have been after one of our first miscarriages or open heart surgery with Charlotte, because that's like an unbearable amount of pain to have to go through. And the Lord's faithfulness in walking me through those things. And really, it's just been like Him softly beckoning me to open the Bible and just like read something. Like, I got you.
Yeah.
Put on that worship song that you've listened to since you were 15 years old. Like, I got you. I deleted my IHOP music. Not Corey's though, because that's my dog.
Corey and Matt Gilman.
Yeah, Corey and Matt Gilman.
Oh my God.
I still will listen to like a John Thurlow tune. But I'm not. There are others that.
All done.
And I can tell you this: He's as kind as He's ever said He was, and He's more than I ever thought. And though I have very, very different views of the expression of what Christianity should look like, pressure removed, the prophetic being definitely condensed down and used in a correct way, who I know Jesus to be, He is the rock. He is the constant. And every big name in the body of Christ could come crumbling down. Their ministries could fall. And that doesn't affect my view of who Jesus is. And in fact, I would imagine that all these big names that are being exposed, He is pruning, and He is doing this for the sake of love for His people. The reason I'm still committed to Jesus is because God, He's been so committed to me. And He's proven it over and over and over and over. And the salty tears and the curse words that I've screamed in my pillow and driven around and pulled off and beat the crap out of my steering wheel. Like He's met me there. And really, like, a big reason is that I didn't shut up. I talked to my friends. I went to a counselor. Your parents had us over like every week for a few months, and we would just talk about stuff in the living room. I had bonfires. I probably burned a whole tree's worth of wood around my fire pit, having dudes over, and we smoked cigars and have a nice little pour of bourbon or something and just like talk about
Yeah.
what's going on, talk about life, talk about God, get through it together.
Yeah.
Getting through it together is how we get through it.
Yep.
And I think I'm realizing that's such a key difference between people on the outside versus the inside of IHOP. So many people, even on the inside, are still not talking.
Right.
And God meets us when we talk to him and through others. And even psychologically, so much of the detangling and aha moments come when you're across the table with somebody or across the fire pit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot of people who haven't done that.
Yeah. God created community.
Yeah.
We didn't make it. God created that innately in us.
Yeah.
And that whole experience even for us to find him.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we were created to find him together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
100%.
yeah, there's an aspect of you seek the Lord alone and
Yeah,
that kind
yeah,
of stuff too. But
For sure.
if you're not talking to people, you're not seeking outside input into your own thought process.
Yeah.
Your heart is deceitful and wicked.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the last
Same.
messages I spoke at Collective, I look at that as being good news.
yeah.
If my heart is deceitful,
100%.
thank God, at least I know it.
Yeah, no,
You know what I mean?
100%,
Like,
yeah.
I'd rather just know it going into my own thought process.
Yep.
Because how many times have I been like, well, I guess everything's effed. And then it's like, oh, I wake up the next morning, I'm like, this is not.
I
as
needed
bad.
a snack
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah.
I
Needed a
was
snack and a
tired.
nap.
I was tired. Yeah. No, it's so real.
But I genuinely, deeply care about several people that are still at IHOP.
Yeah.
People I have known for a long time, really care about. And hopefully they watch this stuff at some point
Yeah.
and just talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Get some outside input. Just let yourself be honest. Ask the questions.
Yeah.
I mean, word like cult gets thrown around and has been thrown around for IHOP
For years.
since before I got there.
Years and years and years.
I mean, like Mike made the decision to put like his characteristics of a cult like as a link on the homepage. It's like, well, we are for sure not a cult, and here's why.
Here's why.
And it's like it's a much messier thing to nail down than like Jonesboro Baptist or like Waco, Texas, and
Right.
no one's like wanting you to kill yourself or anything like that.
Right.
Well, physically,
Yeah.
but as someone that spent my entire 20s, most of my 30s in that ministry, in that room, I would say that that's not a healthy place to be at minimum.
Yeah.
And if you're still like there, why? And that's a hard question. It's a hard question to ask. It's a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
And I know that some people have like their status as, their status in the country tied up there. People have their entire financial future tied up there, raising partnership and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if you don't, like, I would say any young person that's like here for IHOP, just go home.
Yeah.
Go back to Texas, go back to Nebraska, go back to wherever you're from.
Then the same God you're seeking,
He's there.
he's there. He's at your home.
There's actually nothing special about Kansas City.
Yeah.
No.
And
I
we
like
have
Kansas
good
City.
Barbecue.
I'm a big fan of the Chiefs,
Let's go.
Boom.
but like this is not the revival epicenter.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that even if the prophetic history, the experiences that Mike supposedly got from angels and crap, if any of that was actually real, it was an invitation and it wasn't a guarantee.
Right.
100%.
And he blew it.
Yep.
Right.
If it was real, he blew it.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't
1000%.
real, it was never real anyway.
Yeah.
The Lord is just as concerned about your hometown as he is about Kansas City.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amen.
Go home, please.
Go home.
Go
Unless
home.
you're like my friend, then like just leave IHOP and get a job here. Because a lot of my friends have left. So if some people stay, that'd be nice.
Well, yeah.
In Kansas City, not at IHOP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like if you're 20 years old or 22 years old
Yeah,
and
you don't have a place
you
to
don't
go,
have
don't know what
anything,
you're doing.
you don't have any career or anything,
Tying you here.
don't stay at IHOP. Whatever you do, don't stay at IHOP.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Get out as soon as you can.
Get educated, make money, Blessed the man that lives a quiet life.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
good. And there's hope. There's always hope.
There's hope.
God is hope.
Yeah.
No one's stuck forever unless we choose to
And he's just as
say.
his plans are so freaking good.
Yeah.
And they don't have anything to do with IHOP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
Amen.
You want to go be a part of a church anywhere on earth, go do it.
Yeah.
But
Amen.
don't, like, if you haven't talked to your family in a while, you can talk to your friends,
Yeah.
call them.
Yes.
Don't be isolated.
Yeah. You don't need IHOP. You can miss it, but you don't need it.
Amen. All right, this was an exceptional episode of Green Room.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of this. We like you.
Big time.
I don't know about everybody else
Big
at
fans.
this point,
Well,
but we're fans.
you know, let come what may.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Well, make sure to, link or share and click the bell, whatever. And if this kind of impacted you or someone came to mind, feel free to, forward it their way. We really, really appreciate all the support that we get from our listeners and watchers and commenters and all that. So thank you so much. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.